This YouTube video was presented by Screamscape, your ultimate guide to theme parks.
All right, guys, here we are at Skyline booth with Chris from Skyline Attractions. He is
one
the
of the
VP.
busier booths.
Yeah.
We walk by every day, and you're talking to somebody, and 8 different people are here.
Also, new booth location.
Yeah, so we were lucky in a lot of aspects. So for booth location, this just happened to pop when our number rolled, and I had called Lynn from Rides for You and said, hey, do you mind if we get a booth near you? Because there was, you know, he has small rides, we have small rides, we wanted to make sure everything was cool. He said, no, we'd love to have you there. And so we grabbed the booth, and of course we always share a booth with our other business partner in Skyline that owns Honolulu Hot Dogs. So we also...
Never heard of them.
Yeah, right. So we feed people, and then we let you ride our rides, and so on and so forth. So
very cool. And now the big news for you guys is this thing right behind us, and that's Skywarp.
yeah. So Skywarp has been in our back pocket for a while now. It was something that we had wanted to develop from like literally the talking of putting Skyline together. And funny enough, it was over 2 years ago right now. Jeff and I were down here talking to one of our business partners about starting Skyline. And at the time it was just the 3 of us. That's how kind of infant this was, this idea. And we were sitting in the airport over in MCO getting ready to fly up north, and I was like, wouldn't it be cool if we just had like a really cool small powered coaster that did 2 emblems back to back, and I wanted it to be a wing coaster. That was my concept in my head. And Jeff, being the engineer, says, oh, you know, that's really awesome, but it's going to cost a fortune to make a track big enough and heavy enough to run a wing coaster, plus those trains will be crazy. And I said, well, what if we do it with a spinning car? And he's like, yeah, that's going to add a lot of complexity. If we're going to do it for the first time, let's try to keep it simple and clean. And we'd always had this idea with monorail track. We had loved it. We'd talked about it a long time. And then Fred, of course, has monorail track now. So we went to see Fred and talked to Fred about possibly building track for us at Rocky Mountain. And lo and behold, we're the way we're going to go.
That was something the internet was talking when they saw the pictures of this. They're like, is that T-Rex track?
It's actually not T-Rex or Raptor. It's kind of our own size that we needed to actually make it work. So
a dinosaur between a Raptor and a T-Rex.
Right.
It's like a Triceratops.
Possibly.
Triceratops track.
Yeah. And it looks like a Triceratops.
Yeah.
But you know, the whole idea come about, instead of having an entire train all the way through, there's no need for it. If we do the train with what we call dummy chassis between the 2 passenger chassis trains, then we can always have constant contact and a drive wheel system on one side or the other. So right now the idea is it would run on drive tires. We actually talked to Intresys about doing it electromagnetically. That option is out there. We have a price for it. It's expensive, which leads back to drive tires. So it will be driven on tires. And again, it looks like 2 trains, but it's really one long continuous train from the front to the back.
A large break in the middle.
Right. So
now, one thing I always like talking to you is that you physically built this model by hand. Like this, not only is the ride your creation, but you built that.
Yeah. So, you know, it's always fun if you have an interesting idea that everybody in the company says, yeah, that's really cool. Maybe we should develop it. And you know, and then you start taking that time to say, okay, well, what do we want to do? We want to do a video, a really cool animation. We want to have this big backdrop. I mean, we were talking about doing a huge wall where Crab is at and video mapping on it and showing it that way.
Oh, that would be
and then we have Talon in our building, which does the simulators. So we were riding this on their simulator, and it was like, you know, it's time. We're going to be the first one to do it, but we're going to bring a simulator to the show to show a prototype. And so that's actually been really interesting how that worked as well. So we just rent the seat from Talon for the week. They service it, they pick it up, they deliver it, and ultimately that's turned out to be a really cool thing too.
Seems like good strategy.
Yeah, so the idea was, hey, if you want to experience this ride, you can actually virtually experience it. So, but yeah, the model was something that we had talked about months and months ago. And so everything on the model is handmade with the exception of the track. And it's really hard to get that really nice, beautiful, smooth shaping, trying to hand work that. And time-wise, it's tough. So we 3D printed it. Everything else on here is scratch built. The station was literally thrown together on Sunday of last week to try to get something.
One thing I had to ask was, how long did this take you?
I've been working on this model for the past 6 weeks, 7 days a week.
Oh, all right.
So
and it looks fantastic.
It's probably got about 600 hours on it.
I love the story of why there's so many do not touch signs.
Yeah, so the very first day we were here, we're running the ride.
Because the model actually, it's a functioning model.
Yeah. And ultimately, within the first 15 minutes, we would only run it when somebody wanted to see it.
Yeah.
Because we did a calculation. If we ran it for the entire length of the show, we would do 41 miles. And I was like, it's a model. It's not going to do 41 miles. So we decided we're only going to turn it on when somebody wants to see it. And so it was sitting here static. There was no one around, and some fella walks up and literally grabbed the car and tried to pull it through the track. And when he did, he literally exploded the car because it's all in gear. It has bite. So ultimately, the part that he grabbed tried to jerk forward, and all the chassis that were engaged just started ripping apart because they were trying to hold it in place. And so I spent literally 2 days trying to get it corrected, and finally said, you know what, we'll just run it when we can run it. And then this morning, usually Friday's a little bit slower. I had a lot of meetings going on this morning, and I didn't have time to work on it, and I thought, well, we'll just leave it in static motion. So.
And it was really cool. We did get to see it run. It was fantastic.
There's video, I think, online.
Yeah.
There's lots of places you could actually go see it run. So.
Absolutely.
I just can't believe somebody would touch it. I wouldn't have thought you'd need the signs.
Yeah. And it happened just a few minutes ago. It's really funny. Everybody wants. It's a very tactile show. Even with the please do not touch. And I knew that coming in. We all did. At Great Coasters and even at Mock last year, people would bend over the model with a camera, and the Cobra's Curse model, and they'd snap something, and Mock would call me to come over and fix it, and so it's a given. So I think though, if we do another working model, we'll maybe not barricade it, because I hate that. But
just have a security guard.
Well, no, we just put a rope up around it, so you necessarily can't get within arm's reach. But we did that years ago when we worked at Great Coasters with the Rodan model, just to keep people from setting anything on the table. But I think that's the way we need to go. So, but anyway, yeah, it's been a labor of love.
And that's what's going on here with Skyline and Skywarp. One thing we also wanted to talk to you about, because you have your hands in a lot of different things. What were you up to this morning with the Roller Coaster Museum?
Yeah, so I was very lucky. They had asked me to sit on the board for the Roller Coaster Museum, and something that we had been talking about with those guys for a while is we have a really interesting space here in Orlando where we have a ginormous lobby that's temperature controlled. And I wanted to bring some of the stuff that they have in the museum that they bring to the show, and instead of them taking it back to wherever for storage, it comes to us and we present it. Because we have clients walking into the building weekly, and it's kind of a neat thing to have there as like a talking point. And so by being on the board, that's helped to try to say, hey guys, we're going to bring this, if you'll let us, we'll take everything you have here at the show, so your trade show booth for the museum, we'll put it into our building, and we're going to set it up in the lobby. And so there's a wild mouse car that's actually in storage at Macklin right now that used to come to the show, I think, and it's going to come to our shop before Christmas. So we'll have a whole entire roller coaster museum display in our lobby.
That's exciting.
Well, we're going to have to come visit.
Yeah. The other thing is I'm trying to go after like old models here and there. And, you know, if you go back almost 20 years ago or 15 years ago, I built the model for Gwazi. That was my first real big job in the industry. And so I'd really like to talk to Bush about seeing if they're willing to give it to us or donate it or let us put it on loan.
Do they still have it?
Yeah. It needs some work. It's it's been around the block. It's been a lot of places, so it's probably got a couple of days work on it. But I want to be able to fix it, restore it, make it right again, and then display that at the shop as well. So, but then maybe more things come.
Yeah.
Smaller things that we can put in there. And
all kind of snowballs. Like, oh, that's cool. We'll do that there too. And
it's really interesting. Orlando would be a great place to have a small version of the roller coaster museum somewhere, like Dollywood.
Yep.
The things that they were doing there. If we could find a space, that could work, and have that here, so when coaster enthusiasts come down, they could.
It's the theme park capital of the world, so having something like that would make a lot of sense.
Right. And we have regular business hours as well. So if somebody's down to see the parks and they want to come over and see some of the stuff, you just walk in. Mm-hmm. And it won't have a curator or anything like that, but we're always around. And kind of show them the shop, but also show them all the pieces.
I picture the little things you held up to your ear at the museums to tell you little stories about everything.
That could be cool, but you never know.
Well, I like it. Obviously, that's a cool idea. We love talking about you because you're so passionate about the industry, from what you do to everything else. So it's really
the three of us, especially, and Bill too, but Evan and Jeff and I have wanted to do this since we were kids, and now we have Scott on board. Scott just started 6 weeks ago. He's another one. He's very passionate about working in the industry. He was very excited to move down to Orlando, and he's our first full-time engineer that we had hired to help us out do a few things. But we try to surround ourselves with people that have the same amount of enthusiasm and love for the industry. That way we get some of the best and most collaborative new ideas to present to the show. And if you look right now, I know we're a small company and we have a very short history, but we have, with everybody else, we've been doing it for a while. But go back and look right now, just as a 3-year-old company, at the things that we've tried to develop and release. They've all been something so vastly different than everything else that you've seen.
The Games You Ride part, that was mind-blowing.
Yeah, so Games You Ride was one, and the 2 machines that come, and those machines have been out working all over the place. The one is in Atlanta, the Spin You In, it's still there. And then Strike You Up was all over Southern California this summer. And it's looking for a home right now, which I hope I might have found one for next summer. But it just takes time for some of those new ideas to kind of get their feet on the ground and run.
And also for us, it's always cool. We know you are a must-do booth every year because we knew you're going to be showing up something new and different. That's not something we
see very often. So next year there's something else coming with this.
That's what we call a tease.
That's what we call a tease.
Yeah.
Wait 364 days. Yeah. We'll see you next year.
Yeah. So there's other ideas about how this can function and work and look. So you never know where it's going to go. And last year we had the crab. It was actually the couch. Mm-hmm. The couch is actually the one that won Best New Kiddie Ride this year because it has to be in operation somewhere before you can put it out and say, I want to present it as an award or to try to win an award. So that was really interesting. This is the 3rd one now that we've built. We just shipped one off to Saudi Arabia. The other one is, of course, in Fun Spot. This one, I believe, already has a home. So can't really say yet.
Yeah.
I'd rather wait till everything is done. So there's lots of things going on with that. And what made it kind of interesting and new, we were one of the first American manufacturers to try to go after a new age kiddie ride that does something different and new, but it's also very, very simple and built like an army tank. So it's very robust, it works, they turn it on, it runs.
And I'm going to say, Zach, the camera guy, you got to go over there and get a shot of the crazy crab.
Yeah, we can run it so you guys can see it run. Hey, can we run crab quick? It's a little loud from everything else, but
we'll be over here, so they'll just hear us talking.
Right. So the Crazy Crab was actually not a thought when we actually developed the ride. And after we built Couch was one of the things that Kissimmee in Fun Spot said, oh, what if we theme it to a couch? And we're like, okay, great, let's do that. And it's great, but I don't know that the couch really represented the fun emotion of how it could work as a kid's ride. And then so Colin, one of our guys, said, wouldn't it be really funny if it was a crab? It looks like a crab. And so we really quickly drew up like how we would want it to look, and then we sent it off to a real artist and said, make it look like this, and that's what he drew.
Very cool. And I saw there were some other themes you guys were pushing too.
Right, and the same artist, we asked him to come up with some other ideas. There's an alien theme, and then there's like a kayak theme, but literally you can theme it to anything. I showed Knoebels just for fun how we could theme it for them, and we made like a Knoebels bench, but then put Cosmo and Dexter on it, like doing magic tricks.
Put
it was really funny.
Clint's beanie on top and have a spinning propeller.
Yep. Yeah. Clint stopped by. I didn't get to talk to him much, but he was here to say hello too.
Yeah, he's here. He's busy with adult jobs.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. That's what happens when you get into the industry. You just get so busy you can't do it. I would love to be able to go out and see the show, but it's had to have been 10 years since I actually walked the floor. Like, it's usually from one booth to the next, and that's about all I get.
If only there was a YouTube channel that maybe showed off the coolest things on the floor.
Yeah, okay, hint, make your video shorter.
As you've been talking for 15 minutes.
Well, you'll edit it.
Yeah,
just take out the good spot.
Take out the good spots.
Take out the good spots. That was backwards. I've actually said 3 things backwards this week. It's been terrible, but I have 0 sleep in the past 6 weeks.
It's all right. At least one of us has slept in the wrong time every single week.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good.
All right, well, this has gone on far too long, Chris.
All right, well, I appreciate it.
Cool stuff. Always love the talks.
Yeah. Did you want to try the VR test seat?
You should go ride the VR. Try it at least. Maybe get some on video.
Okay, yeah.
So So VR is over there. We'll get somebody to run it for you. You guys can video it, and we'll get out.
Alrighty, fantastic.
Cool.
I'm going to need the bike back.
All right,
All
thanks,
right.
guys.
No problem. Thank
Always
you.
a pleasure to
Thank
see you.
you.
Come and see us at the shop anytime.
Guys, something on the floor that's been everywhere, absolutely everywhere, is VR. And this has been the first time we've actually done anything VR on the whole floor. This is just a preview, the Skywarp we saw over there in the physical model. I'm now going to sit down for a virtual ride. All right, I'll put the headset on. If you haven't done VR before, it's really cool. And I'm assuming what I'm seeing here, you guys are probably seeing on that screen over there. Oh, somebody hit me in the face. That was very real, that was not virtual. Oh, and here we go. And it's really cool because I look over here and there's a seat next to me with no friends. And one of the things that'll be really cool about this ride is the interaction with the other train, because you'll be going through the loops and sort of dueling with each other. And see, I can look behind me, and that gets me dizzy. But this is a good example of the VR technology, not really for the use out in the market, because you wouldn't want to buy this per se, but to show off a new ride, it definitely gives you a different option than that model does over there. And it is cool. It really, if you haven't done the VR stuff, it really does transport you into a different world. As our vehicle comes to a full and complete stop. And there we go. Thank you very much. That was cool.
You're very welcome.